Welcome to a new episode of the Cool Girls Create podcast. It's your favorite creative host, Taniesha Westbrook, and I am here with a very special friend, Charmin Bates, the founder of Creative Girls Rock. Welcome.
Yes, welcome. Thank you for having me, Tanisha. So glad to be here and so happy and proud of you of this platform that you have began with your organization. So kudos to you, girl, providing a safe space and a platform for creatives.
Yeah, welcome. And thank you for that. And the same to you. It's just, you know, as someone who identifies as a creator, right? I'm always excited to see other creative women just going out there and winning.
Mhm.
So today, y'all, we're going to be talking about, of course, creativity, creative entrepreneurship, and also diving into the world of nonprofits. I'd love to get your perspective, Charmin, on, how you've been able to navigate from working, in corporate America and then transitioning into running your own nonprofit, y'all.
Mhm.
So before we get there, we're going to start with an icebreaker. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So, if you could work with any female creative, alive or not here, who would it be and what type of project would it be?
Mm. Um, that's a great question. Immediately when you said if I could work with anyone, she may not identify as a creative per se, but Oprah Winfrey. Um, she has the eye. Obviously, she looks and reviews everything, any content and anything that's put out. So with that, you gotta have some sense of creativity, right? So I'm gonna say Oprah because that was the first person that came to mind. And the project that I would love to work with her. Um, Obviously something with women. So I'm just thinking like what would that look like? Maybe it's an expo and it just has everything you can think of at this particular, venue from the activation, so health and beauty, you tapping into video production to your creative arts or your arts and crafts, but it's almost walking into a creative Chuck E. Cheese, right? And it's all these different type of activations and resources available under one roof. That would be something that I would love to just have her guidance on that and how we could create that together. Um, that would be it. How about you?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like, okay, that's cool. Like
Because
I
that's
can see
doable.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. You said, how about me?
Yeah.
Hmm. I would say, okay. I was just at Nicki Minaj's concert,
I
right?
was too. Yep.
You've been, okay, so I've been to
Uh-huh.
Beyonce's concert. I've been to a number of concerts throughout my years, right? But when
Uh-huh.
I went to her concert this year, I just loved everything about the production
Mhm.
and everything from start to finish before, even when the DJ was out there like hyping the crowd before she even came on the stage. But what I would really love to do is get into creating those types of experiences, like stage arena experiences. I was curious about like who's doing the light show, and I'm
Mhm.
sitting right behind the production crew so I can see all the screens
Oh,
going up.
nice.
Yeah, so it's like that would be the type of project that I would like to move into and work with any female artist who just has, a vision. I'd be down for that.
That's dope. Yeah, I that was one thing I kept hearing during the concert was her aesthetics and her visual effects. And I wish I could have seen the production side. So you had a really good view. So
Hmm.
but yeah, it was pretty dope. It was pretty cool. I've never, been to a Nicki Minaj concert. I actually, probably would not have gone if it wasn't for my homegirl celebrating her birthday, but I'm glad I did to be able to see, her just in her element. And then like you said, her visual arts, performing arts, it was dope.
Yeah, she really, I think she's really someone who catered to her fans.
Yes.
And you can see it with, and y'all, I'm a branding girl. So I'm like, if Nikki, I've been to a bunch of concerts and I love the Queen Bee, but Nikki had all of these little photo booth pop-ups going on. She just had so many things for the fans to engage. And if whether you're a business owner, an artist, or creator, you can learn from that for real. All right. So let's get into the first segment. So we're going to start with you, Charmin, just telling us a little bit more about your background and history and how you got to the formation of Creative Girls Rock.
Yeah, so I am originally from Joliet, Illinois. Maybe about 25-30 minutes from Chicago, Illinois.
Chi-town.
And youngest of four. And my siblings are a lot older, so I almost grew up like the only child. And if you have experience with only child, only child, have a friend that is only child or whatnot, or the youngest, you learn to how to entertain yourself, right? And so with me being the youngest, I took on like a lot of, I had every Barbie you can think of. And my dad used to build my doll houses. And I did have the little Barbie houses, but back in the day, I don't know if they still have these, but Hobby Lobby, they used to have these wood big doll houses that you could build on your own, choose out the furniture and the wallpaper. All that to say is like that's the type of stuff I used to do like after school. I would come home because I wanted to work on my dollhouse. Um, or I'm big into fashion. My undergraduate degrees in fashion merchandising. We will talk about that. And Barbie had came out with a Barbie CD-ROM. I'll never forget that Christmas. And you put in the CD-ROM on your computer, and then it was almost like an app, and you could design the dresses, and then it came with the satin paper, copy paper, so where you could put the satin paper into the printer, and it'll print the dress onto the fabric, and
You
then you
are
cut it
excited
out.
about this right
Yeah,
now.
yeah, I was too geek. Because I wish, because I don't know if they still have stuff like that. They have all these apps and stuff you're doing on your phone. But just think about, you design something, you put this paper in the printer, it prints out, you cut it, it came with the Velcro. So now my Barbies are styling with my outfits. So like you can tell me anything. And so I'm saying all that to say it's like I've always been into your fashion, your arts and crafts, visual arts. I did ballet, I did tap, I did everything you can think of. Um, and I enjoy that. As you can see, the excitement and me talking about it, it was a big part of my childhood. And that is something that later on in life that God revealed to me to provide a similar platform for young girls who are interested in creative arts. Whether it's performing, visual, fashion, all of that is a being a creative. Um, and that's really how it came about, my passion for that. um with Creative Girls Rock, didn't even know I was writing a business plan. So I mentioned that I have an undergrad degree in fashion merchandising, so what brought me to Nashville was Tennessee State University, majored in fashion merchandising. Right after college, had the opportunity to work for Macy's corporate, so I was a retail buyer for 2 years in New York, and then I worked on the merchandising side, where I worked with a design team to design Bar 3 is a line at Macy's. It's a private label at Macy's. INC, Alfani, all of those brands. So Macy's has 66 private labels that are made in-house. And I was on the Bar 3 team. And so it was really neat to literally be on the computer, seeing these designs come to fruition. And my job as a project manager was to work with the overseas vendors to get the prototypes, and that is a sample of the particular item. And so that was shipped to New York. We would look at it, we would feel the quality, make sure the color was good, and then I would place the bulk order for all the Macy's in the country. um that was super dope, very fun experience, in my 20s. Went to New York, no family, no friends, didn't know anyone out there. It was definitely a wake up call. It definitely humbled me in every way possible. And I'm thankful for it because the network that I built there, those same individuals, those same companies are pouring back into Creative Girls Rock, because they kind of seen it come to fruition. So a little bit about my background. I have a very intense background, but I'll kind of pause there to see. It looks like you got a question.
I do
Like,
have a question because
okay.
I want to know what was the humbling experience? Like, what were some of the
Oh
things
yeah.
you learned while being out on your own?
Well, just that. New York, when Jay-Z was like, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. That is so much the truth. Everybody in New York are go-getters. Um, it's every man for themselves. So it's like when I was on campus, I was very involved, and it was like, oh, you were more of the popular person, I guess, quote unquote. But when you get into a city that's the biggest city in the world, it's like no one's not thinking about your GPA. They're not thinking about, oh, you used to play with Barbies or you used to build your Barbie houses, all that other stuff. They don't care about that. They're like, okay, what do you want to do? How are you trying to do it? And it's very cutthroat. It's very getting to the point. And I appreciate that because I have implemented that in a gracefully way, right? Not rude or anything like that, but like, okay, this is what you want to do. So what is your steps on how to get there? And so I apply that same mindset in everything that I do. It's not just like, oh, I wish I can do this. Okay, you can do that. So what steps are you going to put in place to get there? And I learned that in New York. Also experienced where I had this grand idea at Macy's and I told my colleague about it, and they were listening at the time. And then like the next meeting, she presented exactly what I told her and took credit for it, didn't mention me at all. And at that moment, like it's a lot of that where it was like very cutthroat. And so it's like, man, like I thought I could trust this person. And you just got to be mindful of what you share. And so that was a wake up call. I'll never forget that. That was a humbling experience. One of my bosses was in so many, I don't even know how to describe, but was very curt. And I did not enjoy going to work at all, because just of the relationship that we had. And that was a humbling experience as well. I'll never forget crying outside to my mom. Was like, I'm ready to go. I don't want to be here. And she was like, you have to stick through it. You wanted to go. So now you're in New York, deal with it. And
Mhm.
again, not in a bad way, but it was so I needed to hear that. I needed to be like, okay, toughen your skin. You got this. And so I had a couple of those situations. But on the flip side of that, I joined the church. I joined the chapter, the alumni chapter there in New York. So of Delta Sigma Theta, and that alone, the sorors, that kind of just took me underneath their wing. They helped me find a church family, so I started getting more involved in my church, and that involvement helped get through my certain circumstances, that I was dealing with work at the time. Because I don't know what I would have done. I probably would have quit and walked out and moved back to back home. But that wasn't an option. It was like, I got here, I prayed for this. Nothing in life to me I think is easy. It's always something that you have to work for, or it's going to humble you in some form or fashion. And so I stuck through it. And so that was a little bit of that humbling experience. Oh, and I found my apartment getting lost on the train. I almost had an anxiety attack. But I was learning the train system when I first got to New York. Thought I was going one direction and I was going in a different direction. Got off, didn't know where I was. They have an app in New York, an app that you can use to learn the train system. And I was using that, but underground, if you don't have service, the app doesn't work. So I was like panicking because I didn't know how I was going to get back to my original destination. I was apartment hunting. But because I got lost, I found my apartment and I ended up living in the same spot for 4 years. So it was like, it was a gamble. Like I'm lost, but let me just go walk. And I walked, I was
Yeah.
like, oh, this looks nice. And it was right in Harlem. So I lived in Harlem for 4 years. Loved it.
Yes. You know, I'm happy that we went down this rabbit hole because um whether you are an entrepreneur or you're just like getting your feet wet in corporate America, you have to learn how to navigate tough situations and have tough skin. And
Mm-hmm.
you're just reminding me of all of the instances where I was in corporate America getting yelled at about something, or, sitting there in tears because I'm like, I can't take this type of communication or this pressure, and then having to build myself back up and push through it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a skill that everybody can benefit from. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and then you were just talking about like even getting lost on the train system. I'm thinking back to all of the times where I've had to travel for work. It's my first time, traveling to a different city. And I'm like, I was in Japan trying to figure out, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Don't panic. You're a big girl. You got this. But I think as young adults transitioning into the world, it's important to have those experiences because otherwise you'll just be left, I don't know, handicapped. I
Mm-hmm.
think you're handicapped.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I agree. And it's scary too, Tanisha, I'll be honest. Again, being in a city, I didn't know anyone. And if it wasn't for, my sorority and my church family, and even, my job before I had that manager, I had other managers leading up to that point. And working in the retail buying industry for the first 2 years, basically you're selling your brand, you're selling your product. And so we would have happy hours every single day. We was like on a rooftop or something like that. And just spending, and I would just watch these different people. It's four of us, and the bill was like $2,500. And I'm thinking, like, you know what I could do with $2,500? And we just spent that on a meal and some drinks, talking about
Mm-hmm.
quotes. And I'm thinking about, some of the hardships that myself or my friends or whatever their experiences, and here they are just, you know, that was the lifestyle. And
Swiping that company credit card, boy.
hey, baby, swipe. And but that's what we had to do. Like my clients were Polo, Ralph Lauren, I had Nike, Adidas, Puma. And so we would go out with those teams to kind of talk about, I mean, we just want to keep our clients happy. And
Mm-hmm.
so we went out several nights. But again, all that to say, like, even that, you're just sitting in the background watching, like, wow, like, okay, this is cool. I can either get used to this or I can actually do something about flipping that $2,500 to something else to help benefit someone, right?
Yes,
And
it's the
that's what I was more
exposure.
passionate. That's
It's
what
the
I was more passionate
exposure.
about. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dark days, baby.
I'm
And
like, I keep
Brooklyn.
cutting you off.
Oh no,
Yeah.
you good.
So I was about to say it again. You said that's what you was coming back to, right?
What? The
Just sitting back in the cut,
Oh
just
yeah, sitting back in the cut. Yeah. Yeah.
so let's transition and talk a little bit about what motivated you to want to start to empower young women,
Okay.
right? So you're on this journey, and now you're back in Nashville,
Yep.
graduated from Tennessee State. So how do we get to the nonprofit Creative Girls Rock?
Yeah, great question. So kind of going back to New York, Macy's had, it was called a Power Lunch or Lunch and Learn, um, something along those lines, where they partnered with a local school near the corporate office, and during your lunch break, you would go read or do some sort of activity with a child. Okay. And so I can't think of the name of school, but it was downtown Manhattan. And I would go in on, I believe it was Thursday. It was like Thursday or Fridays. And my particular buddy, she loved to do like kind of arts and crafts, and it could just be something, maybe just drawing or sketching. Sometimes I would read a book, but to see her face light up when I would walk into the classroom, or the lunchroom rather, that did something for me. And I enjoy that 1 hour or 45-minute transaction with her than I did the 7 hours I was spending at my job. And at that point, it was like, I want to get into youth development. So I started getting more involved in the Boys and Girls Club of Harlem, and then the art center in Harlem. Like, I just started doing a lot of community work, because that's what I was being drawn to. And even then, when I was in New York, I wasn't even thinking about starting a nonprofit. I just knew I wanted to work in one. And then I found a program back here in Nashville. I always loved the South. So I said, if I'm going to move from New York, I would love to go back to Nashville, maybe as another pit stop, right? Because it's something I'm familiar with. Trevecca Nazarene University has an excellent master's program. So I got my master's in organizational leadership and nonprofit management because I wanted to learn more about that nonprofit sector. And I'll never forget my thesis. I had to write a business plan, and that business plan was to create a nonprofit. And I'm at this point, I'm just trying to graduate. I was working at the YMCA as program director, tapping in a little bit into the Boys and Girls Club here, and I was going to school. And I sat down, I had to write it. It was X amount of pages. And once I submitted Taniesha, I didn't touch it again. I didn't look at that information. It was just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have a nonprofit. It's gonna focus on, arts, and it's gonna provide these opportunities for young girls, yada 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 yada. And I submitted it, got an A, graduated, went on by my business. Um, and it wasn't it. So I graduated in 2016. So it wasn't until 2017. On Saturdays, my thing is I watch HGTV. I drink my champagne. I have on my HGTV. So I'm watching Fixer Upper. Watching Say Yes to the Dress. I'm watching all those things.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I do. And I don't know what it was on TV. I don't know if it was Fixer Upper or something. And I sat back and I was like, man, I'm about to start something. Literally just like that. And I called my mom, said I'm going to start a movement. And she's like, okay, what you going to call your movement? I was like, I don't know, something creative. And I just started mumbling, just thinking of certain things. And originally it was creative Black girls rock, or Black creative girls rock. And then she was like, that's cool, but do you just want to limit it to, is it all girls? Or are you just going to focus on that demographic? And I said, I want everybody rocks, all the creatives. And she was like, all right. And I was like, well, what about creative girls rock? And so I looked it up immediately, Taniesha. I never forget. And I wanted to see if it was something already out there called Creative Girls Rock. Again, Oprah is my mentor. And so what I love about Oprah, she owns every single thing that she puts out. If she puts out a recipe, it's trademark. She puts out something else, it's patented. So I was like, you know what? If I'm going to do it, I want to own it. And I went to US PTO, so United States Patent and Trademark Office .org and org.gov, and I typed in Creative Girls Rock, and it said no records found. And at that moment, I just started working. I started plugging and playing. And I had already wrote the business plan a year before for graduation. So it was like, well, I kind of have a starting point because I already did it. And that's how it came about.
Okay. So now that Creative Girls Rock is here, you've been a nonprofit. So 7 years?
7 years this year.
7 years this year. And at the time when you started, you were still working in corporate America, and still building out the program. So I want to discuss, some of the things that you started to build out in the program earlier on. And then I really want to dive into just the world of navigating nonprofits, because
Yeah.
to be real, and if you're listening to this, you're probably somebody who's thought, "Ooh, I want to start a nonprofit," right? But a lot
I
of
haven't
times
started
people
over.
start them and they are not successful, or they're not profitable, or they aren't reaching the heights that they could reach because they don't have certain things in place.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like for you to be as transparent as possible
Yeah.
about the key things that you think really helped you grow your nonprofit to where it is now.
Um, so yes, I was working, mentioned YMCA, was at Boys and Girls Club, and then I ended my career at Vanderbilt University. So during that time, I was at Vandy for 5 years. And during that time, as you mentioned, I was growing CGR. I was just having different little sets or meetups at my house, where we would do like some sip and paint, or make centerpieces out of wine bottles after we drink all the wine. And I would just start wrapping yarn around the yarn bottles. And so to make like a base for a centerpiece, so a vase, right? And I did one, I loved it. And so I probably made like 8 more after that. And then they're just all over my house. And so some of my friends would come over and they'd be like, Charmin, like, this is dope. Like, did you make this? And then another fun fact about me, I love to go to the Goodwill and find furniture and stuff like, and refurbish that. And my dad taught me everything I need to know about, sanding it down, wood stain and all that. And so my house started to become almost like a creative girls rock because everything in there I had did.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I was doing both. I was having some of these classes and building. I didn't want to have a nonprofit to encourage young girls and women to do things yourself, right? If I wasn't willing to do it myself. So the website you see, everything you see from the branding to the logo, I created. It took me hours to create it. I have no web design experience whatsoever or logo creation, but I wanted to really invest the time needed to build this where it was literally from the ground up. So I would encourage anyone who is looking to start a nonprofit. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. You got to be willing to sacrifice your time, sacrifice your money, sacrifice sleep, because you're gonna have to pour just as much as you pour into it. That's how much you're going to get out of it, right? And I learned that very quickly because it's like, okay, so if this is what I want to do, let me Google, let me see how to do a website. So I started to educate myself. It's a lot of research too, on how to do that. So I was able to create that. All that time, Taniesha, yes, I'm at Vandy, in a predominant role. I was an event planner for the chancellor who had events maybe 4 days out of the 5 days a week. And so I had to plan that. I had to make sure, he was on schedule, make sure he was going to be at the dinner, that he had, what he was going to wear out for that particular event. Like, so I'm doing all of this and then coming home and working on my brand. Because I was passionate about it. I had a vision and I wasn't going to stop, and I still don't until, I actually see this vision come to fruition. So passion definitely plays a role in that, but like I said, a lot of um time management in putting that together. But in 2022, has it been that long? Yeah. 2022, I walked away from my 9 to 5. I literally made that leap of faith. I didn't, I, I don't think it's ever a right time to walk away. So if you guys are on the urge, like, man, when do I walk away or when do I take that leap? You're never going to be ready. I'm gonna let you know that right now. I didn't have the 3 months of rent saved or 3 years of rent, what they normally say. I didn't have it. Um, I actually had quit my job before I closed on my house. What an idiot, right? But I still closed on my house. Like, I'm not calling myself, but it's like, who quits their job before they close on a house? Someone with big faith, right? And that
Right.
is like, hey, God, if you call me to this, then provide me with the resources and everything, the people I need to sustain me to help bring this vision that you have to life to serve your people. And that's what I am. I'm just a servant and providing, spreading the light throughout the communities. But I closed on my home. I quit in August 2022. I closed on my home on October 17th, 2022, October 13th, 2022, and I started Creative Girls Rock October 17th, 2017. So it's like something that birthed in the same month of October, and I ended, I closed on my home in October. So like it's some manifestation about that too. But it just all worked out. And so my encouragement would be, it's never going to be a time like, oh, let me save this, let me save some more money. You can do that. I'm not saying, don't save your money. Especially if you're looking to make that leap soon, maybe look at your finances and see, if this is the best time. It'll never be the best time, but you can look at that. And I mean, we'll be honest, people are going to look at that. But you're just going to have to take that leap and jump and just do it.
Yeah.
And ever since I made that leap of faith, doors just started to open. Emails were starting to come through. Grants were starting to be approved. And it was like, okay, I'm trying to catch up with that, because it was just like overflow. And that was a confirmation for me that I did the right thing and that I'm walking in the calling that God has for me. And the road is not easy. People, they see all the great things that we do, which I'm thankful for. But it's a lot of hard work on the back end. And if you think anything about a duck, right, you just see a duck just swimming. All you see is a head and just gliding, but underneath them legs going like this, right? Real fast. That's exactly how it is. Like, if we look like we smooth sailing, everything looks good and nice and pretty, and we've taken in all that vitamin D that the ducks do in the lake, but they kicking their feet really, they working very hard to stay above water. And that's exactly what it is, how I would use that for the nonprofit world.
Yeah, and I would use that same analogy for entrepreneurship
Yep.
because people see all of the great things, and the accomplishments, but they don't see the late nights and all of the work that you have to do. And
Mm-hmm.
okay, so a lot of the questions that I get from aspiring entrepreneurs and that I really want to start addressing in these conversations is that practical advice. So a lot of the questions that I get are centered around, okay, I've taken the leap
Mm-hmm.
and I'm in this thing, but what do I do with my time? How
Mm.
should I spend my day? What activities should I be focusing on? How should I build my board? So those are kind of the questions that I would like to shoot to you because um a lot of people are in it, but they don't really understand what is actually going to move the needle forward. So,
Mm-hmm.
what are some of those things that you can attest to that move the needle forward for you?
Um, so I'm gonna break that up. So the first part, I know you mentioned board, I'll touch on that. Um, the very first part of that question, ask me that. I want to address that first.
Oh, like how should I spend my time throughout the day?
I
What
would Okay.
what should I be doing? That's the question I get the most, y'all.
Okay. Organization is key. I'm extremely organized to the T. And what I mean by that, I write everything down. Everything is on my calendar. Typically on Sundays evening, I will look at my calendar for the week, and I'll think about the upcoming projects that I may have. And then you got to strategize, and you have to put things in. Obviously, you put it in order how the work needs to be done. So organization would be number one for me. That's how you got to have that. And you have to be, even as an entrepreneur, you have to be even more disciplined, because you don't have anyone who's going to be like, oh, you're going to get fired next time you don't clock in at 9. Nah, boo, you're your own boss. And so sometimes that's even harder, because it's like, man, I just want to stay in bed all day. And you
And
can have that day, and
I
you
can do
can,
it.
but just know, if you do that, it may set you back on that one project that you're trying to, you know, figure out. So I have a rule now. I've gotten to a place, because I'm learning to take more time for my own mental health and wellness. I have a day where I don't schedule any meetings. And if I do work, it's because I want to. But
Mm-hmm.
if I want to have that day just to go to the park or to walk around, I have that one day to myself.
Is it the same day or is it different depending on the week? Like mine
It's
is
the same day every
Mondays.
week. Mine
Mine
is
is
Monday. Yep.
Monday. Okay, yes.
Yep.
Because
So
Monday
my
is
rule
like,
is no meeting Monday.
yes, yes, same. Like we cannot meet on Monday
Yep. Nope.
and I'm just blocking out the noise.
Yep.
And I would recommend that as well. And everything you said about organization. And if you're not organized right now, that's okay. Like it's
Yeah.
always time to get better. And as
Yep.
you figure out what works for you, um, your organizational skills will improve. So I just wanted to add that in.
Yeah. Yeah. It will improve over time. So I would say the organization, filling out your calendar, make sure you're taking that day to yourself. Where, again, if you want to lay in the bed, that's what you do that day. And if that's how you want to spend your day, that's what you do. But just know that next day you need to get to work. So I go to work. What that looks like for me, It's a lot. So that's emails. That could be meetings with different community partners. That could be going to a networking event. That would be something I would say. So if you're an entrepreneur, Nashville has grown to be one of those cities you want to be in, right? Because all the different opportunities that are here. And so any of these professional networks or, maybe luncheons or after work meetups, not saying to go to every one of those, but it's good to maybe try and maybe once every other week or something like that, because you're meeting new people.
Mm.
And it's the exposure, right? So now we have our business cards, because we're gonna have that, and or your electronic ones. But as we meet people, we're exchanging that information. And I have to tell people all the time, follow up. If you get a business card, just don't collect that and put that in your stash. Even you can send a quick email. It was a pleasure meeting you at J. Alexander on da 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 da. I look forward to our continued partnership. Just something really quick to like build that relationship. And that leads me to my third thing. Relationships are your greatest resource. Say
Yes.
that again. Relationships are your greatest resource. A lot of the successes that I have had personally and through my organization was the relationships that I built with people through either attending a networking session, maybe just sitting down at a bar. I'm just gonna be real with you. And someone just came and sat next to me and just so happened he works for a 500 Fortune company. Like, oh, you run a nonprofit. I'm looking for a tax write-off. I'm just gonna be real. Okay. So like there you go. And it's like those relationships that you build opens up different opportunities. So my folks who are out there like, oh, I don't like talking to people. We're gonna have to break out of that shell, because that is a huge part of my success. I can speak to, just for my business, is just talking to people, just telling them what you do. And, there's going to be something about that conversation that's going to be like, I want to learn more about that. You have a business card. And then once you have that card, follow up and then continue to follow up and kind of build that relationship. Um, and so from the board, that kind of leads me to my next statement. Building a board is also built on relationships and your strategic plan. So I'm always big on write the vision, make it plain, right? So if you have a business and you have not yet wrote out that business plan or your strategic plan, which is pretty much the same thing, write that out. And what that looks like right now, it doesn't need to be formal. You can have a whiteboard session. I have them all the time. I just write stuff out and
Mm-hmm.
do a brain dump, and then I go back and put it how I would like it. I have one this evening with my team. But once we write out that vision or that strategic plan, then whatever your vision is for the 2 or 5 year plan that you write out, your board should be a reflection of that. So if you want to expand to 3 different cities, then you have someone on your board who has started a business and has expansion in 3 different cities, because that's something that you aspire to have. So that board member can advise you on how to reach your goal. Your board is a representation of your goals and aspirations to help you get there. So your board should be a reflection of your strategic plan, where you see your company going in the next, 3 to 5 years. And that's something that's ever evolving, right? Because you're constantly enhancing your business, you're constantly adding to your business plan or strategic plan. So that could be maybe some board members rolling off, or that's adding new board members to your board based on where you see this organization going. It always goes back to the plan. And that would be my advisement for the board. But in order to identify those board members, that's again, relationship networking events. LinkedIn, I love it because
I
it gives
love
you like a
LinkedIn.
full rundown of that person. If it's someone that catches your eye, then shoot them a message. Hey, I would love to meet with you to talk more about my business. And then follow through. And then, meet with that person to see if they're a good fit for your organization.
Yeah, this is great advice because I think a lot of people get stuck in the weeds on, again, what's going to move the needle forward.
Mm-hmm.
And people know that they need to network. They know they're probably out and they're making these connections, but like you said, are they following up? Are they following through? And then are they taking steps to pour into the relationship? And
Mm-hmm.
that's the last follow-up question I have for you. How do you maintain these relationships that you are building? And just touch on the fact that this is a long game. So expecting, something to happen within a day of meeting somebody, to me, is unrealistic expectations, and it's a disadvantage, or it just gives you a disservice to not be willing to invest in what you're building with other people.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm letting that sit for a moment. Yeah, repeat that question again.
Oh, I wanted to talk about just your strategies for maintaining relationships. Like,
Okay.
once you follow up and follow through, what are you doing to make sure that that relationship is blossoming?
Yeah. Um, so follow through, and then I think just like a random like text or maybe a call or even a lunch and say, "Hey, it's been a while. I just want to check in. Are you available for lunch?" And then follow through with that. And then, like I said, building that relationship comes with different the conversations that you guys are having. See what that person is interested in. So, like, say they're interested in florals. I'm doing a floral one-on-one workshop, like for so invite them to that. Hey, we're having a floral arrangement workshop. I know you love flowers. I would love for you to come. Right. So learn what these individuals are interested in. And then that's how you tailor your conversations to kind of build your relationships. If they into hockey, we have a huge hockey arena downtown. So that might be some of the sacrifices and investments. That's when I get back to investing in your brand, investing in yourself, that you might want to get a couple tickets, like, hey, I have tickets to a game. Or maybe build that relationship with the Predators where you can get, complimentary tickets to bring someone, that you would like to add on your team to the game. And so that would be just keeping in contact. I'm not saying texting them or call them every day, but people know when it's genuine, right? And you
Mhm.
just want to make sure you have that that is genuine on both sides. And you'll know when something is off. I'll just put it that way. Like, if it's not genuine, if this is a relationship that you should continue to cultivate or not.
Right. And I love that you said that, like, use discernment when it comes
I
to
was going to say
building
that.
these
Yeah.
relationships.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because everyone is not for you, and that's not in a bad way, any negative way. Business is business. And so it just, everyone that you meet may not be attached to what it is that you're calling, that you've been, you know, called to do.
Mhm.
And so it's cool to have lunch. It's cool to be, have that relationship. But that's why I said to cultivate that relationship or try to get to know that person to see if they're a good fit. And still, and even if they're not, you can still, you don't have to cut them off.
Right.
I think you can still have that relationship, but you'll know where to place that person in your business or in your life. Right.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So we're going to close this out with a quick fire round. So
Okay.
I'll just ask you questions. You tell me the first thing that comes to your mind. Just
Okay.
keep it concise. And then we'll have a final word from you with advice to creative women, aspiring nonprofit business owners, but just a final word to
Okay.
give them some inspiration. All right, you ready for the quick fire round?
Let's do
So, what is your favorite artistic medium?
it. Oh God. Uh, when it I don't know. Now I got a question for you. Spray paint. I don't know.
Yeah, like, what do you like to do? Like, what are you, because you mentioned like the making the vases and centerpieces.
Mhm.
But yeah, spray painting things. Okay,
I
cool.
love it. I love spray paint.
Me
Yeah.
too. Give me some.
Give
Look,
me some to
let me
spray paint.
let me spray something down.
Sometimes it's therapy, right? Girl. Yes.
Yes. Okay. So, excluding Oprah, top three women creatives or artists that inspire you.
Mm. Top three. Top three. Okay. Beyonce is a beast. Let's just be honest. Um, who else? I would go with I'm with Alicia Morozic here in Nashville, local. Love her. Does it have to be a celebrity?
No. Say the name again. Alicia who?
Alicia Morozic, Queen Bee.
Okay.
Here in Nashville, local artist, my lead mural artist, the one who designed my mural here. Um, and who else would be an inspiration? And I'll just be like, oh man, she bad. I don't know, Tanisha. There's so many.
Okay, we're gonna move on. I'm
Yeah,
about to
move
say
on.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Move on. We good.
Okay. So morning ritual routine that helps you have a productive day.
Prayer and natural light. I pray and I open every blind in my house as soon as I wake up.
Wow, I've never heard the natural light thing. Why? Is there a reason why?
Um, for me, that's my meditation, especially if it's sunny out. I'll stand in that window that the sun is coming in and just take it all in. And I'm just resetting my soul, preparing my spirit for the day.
I love that. I just open, yeah, I open the bedroom blinds. I'll be like, morning sunshine. Like
Yep.
I understand it's like something about getting your day started.
Yep.
Okay. Last question. Are you ready?
Mhm.
Your favorite way to unwind after a busy day?
Go home and sit in silence.
Dead silence. No
Yeah.
TV, no phone, no
Nothing.
music.
Mm-mm.
For how
I said,
long?
um, I can't really put a time on it, but what I'm doing, I'm going through the day, through what I experienced that day, and I'm just taking that all in, and that's what I do. Also, it helps me reset. So a lot of people think I'm an extrovert because of what I do and my energy. I am so much an introvert. So what I'm doing is like at the end of the day, my social interaction capacity, I'm shot. And so I need to, in order for me to reset, like I just have to not talk to anybody. And I'm just sitting. And
You
people, yeah,
you're
that's a
speaking my
fun fact about
language.
me. Hmm.
Yes, you're speaking my language. And people don't understand that because they'll see you out and about. They're like, "Oh my gosh, you're so social." I'm like, that the meter is going down.
Hmm.
All right. So, final word to our cool girls, fellow creatives about, how to be successful in this industry or the world of creativity.
How to be successful. I'm be honest. Just do it. Whatever it is that you're sitting on, whatever that master plan is, like just do it. Don't think too hard. Just take that first initial step, and that is doing it. And I know that might sound cliche, but a lot of the things and a lot of successes that I've had is because I just did it. I just went out there. And even if it's not as successful as you thought it would be, at least you tried. And now you know what to do to enhance it next time you try it again, or how to make it better. But you won't know that unless you try.
You know what? That is great advice. Because most people don't take action and they're just
Mhm,
sitting there making excuses or overthinking. So
mhm.
thank you, Charmin, for
Thank you.
joining me today on the Cool Girls Create podcast. Thank you for sharing your journey and that advice about, how to build a team or move forward with your nonprofit. And I think that advice can be applied, across multiple industries. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. You have tuned into another episode of the Cool Girls Create podcast. It's your favorite host, T and Charmin, signing out.
Bye. Thank you.